Were you ever scared, being especially a female within like the...
I actually was, yes. I remember one particular incident. 3 or 4 prison guards walked into the room. It was very unusual, but you know, you're busy. I was seeing a patient, but up walked out and another 2 walked in with another patient. Afterwards, I got to know he was a murderer. I mean, he wasn't there for murder. And it was, I think, the only time where I was really afraid.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Maistre Melillo. I have recently turned 60. For the past 25 years, I've been working with infectious diseases. I have also worked at emergency and also did quite a long stint at our detoxification centers, which included working in our prison. Today, I'm going to be dissecting my career with Stella and Dan.
Fantastic, we can start. Hi.
Hi.
I'm super excited to get to know you today, as well as potentially changing up your hair, as well as getting to learn a lot more about you and your fantastically interesting career.
Okay.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
My co-host, my cutie. I'm excited. Let me get the gown on you and we can start.
Could you tell me about your job now? Like, describe what your job is like on a day-to-day. We know the fancy title behind it.
Basically, it falls under public health. My department is the Infectious Disease Prevention and Control Unit. Basically, we deal with all infectious diseases. Can range from, you know, measles, mumps, rubella, influenza, sexually transmitted infections with HIV. And then we moved into COVID, of course, which falls under an infectious disease.
You must have been
so
very,
there
very
are
busy then.
over 70 infectious diseases. So what I can say is that every day you can be dealing with something totally different.
Over 70 that you handle in Malta, or 70 that are like the main ones that you have to worry about?
There are 70 that are in our sort of notifiable disease list. A few of them we have never encountered, and I hope we never do. You know, the rare diseases found mainly in Africa. COVID came out of the blue. Nobody was expecting it. It was something new, not only for us, but for the whole world.
I was going to ask what's your opinion on it starting, but I think it's a bit too early to get into that. Right.
You deal with particularly not treating the diseases itself, you deal particularly with the prevention of it or monitoring of it.
The prevention and the control, because obviously if you have a case or if you have an outbreak, then you have to try and control the spread to the rest of the population.
Have you ever been contaminated / infected with any of the diseases that you were trying to treat or prevent from spreading to the public?
I have had a foodborne illness a couple of times. One time particularly knocked me down. It may have been either I went somewhere or it may have been from a patient. And we had a measles outbreak a few years ago, and we were obviously going to speak to the patients. We did decide to check our immunity for measles because, you know, it would have been a bit daft going and catching measles ourselves.
Measles is something that hasn't been very popular recently, so did it seem to come out of the blue or?
Yes, it did. WHO have a drive for elimination of measles and rubella, so we have to report to them every year about how many cases we have.
I don't actually know what measles is.
Really? Okay. No. Most of these diseases start off with a fever, symptoms of a cold sort of, you know, a runny nose or a sore throat. So at the beginning it's very difficult to say what might develop. But measles, then you develop a rash.
Does it kill you? Like, and if you don't treat
No, it usually doesn't. It may kill, but if you know, immunosuppressed or something like that, you haven't had a case like that in Malta for ages.
Why would the World Health Organization want to report and try and eradicate it if it doesn't kill? There's
a very good vaccine against it. So if vaccination is high, you can. This is like we eradicated, not we, well, you know, smallpox.
Yep.
There was a very good vaccine. There was a time when it was declared that it is eradicated. It's always good if you eradicate an infectious disease.
Has there ever been anything that's spread, was kept sort of secret from the public, something that you guys knew about, that you were like, let's not alarm the public, let's try to tackle it, and you managed to tackle it and it didn't spread?
When there is an infectious disease and it's likely to spread, I think it's only right that the public are informed.
Remember before you mentioned about hotels and hotels being like a hotspot for spreading of things, and you had once said that there was a gastrointestinal virus that spread amongst hotels.
It's events. You know, it could be a wedding, it could be a big party, it could be a baptism. If food is not prepared properly and not kept at the right temperature, or if you don't keep food in the fridge and then warm it up properly, 1 or 2 bacteria in it and they just explode.
It's totally different, but COVID then spreads during cold temperatures, no? That's what the studies were suggesting.
At the beginning we thought that, but it's not really the case. I mean, in
Have you seen
June,
numbers
July,
drop?
we already had high temperatures. We had over 700 cases of COVID this July.
Do you think COVID is behind us, or is it still something that might pop out again or might evolve into something worse?
Evolve into something worse? Possibly not. The beauty of this virus, if you want to call it that, is that it mutates. If it sees that it's being controlled, sort of thing, it mutates into another form. And
I've got one more question actually about the training. That just something that you learned on the job when you got there?
To get into public health, we do an MSc. It's a master's in public health. But when we went to see COVID patients, we were all gowned up, etc., etc. That we did training for example, the emergency doctors, civil protection. It's important how you gown yourself, but even more important how you de-gown, because that is when you can contaminate yourself.
Do you ever have blonde hair, Jackie?
Blonde? No. That's one color I've never had.
I have it for a very short time.
Okay, interesting.
I am so excited to learn so much more about Jackie and hear her experience and career as a physician and hear all about her exciting tales. But before then, I have something even more exciting to share. This video is sponsored by June's Journey, one of the most riveting and beautifully set mobile games. June's Journey is a hidden object mystery game set in the 1920s. Its main protagonist is June Parker. She is on a quest to solve the murder of her sister and uncover her family's many secrets. Each new scene takes you further through the thrilling murder mystery story and allows you to really immerse yourself in the game. It is the perfect game to play if you're feeling a bit anxious or stressed in the bath or in bed or on your way to work. I personally love playing it while I'm waiting for my guests to arrive before I hear all about their exciting journey. It is lightly challenging, putting your sense of observation to the test, but it is still a perfect way to relax and escape. It is completely free to download and is available on Android, iOS, and Amazon, and you can access it through the link that I have in the description box. Download the video game now to challenge your mind a bit and put your observation to the test. Let's back to the video, which I'm so excited for.
So I'm going to reveal you a really hip-looking woman. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, wow!
I love it. We effectively turned you into modern-day Eminem. We've gotten you the perfect base for hopefully the perfect color.
Ooh, yes.
And this one. I'd really like to hear about your time as a prison doctor, emergency doctor, and also the detox part of your diverse career.
I started working at the detox. A friend of mine was working there and they needed more doctors. I said, why not? So I started working there. After some time, they had a problem with the prison doctor of the female side of the prison. And sort of since I had already got to know the patient, I said, why not? Let me give it a go. So I started visiting the female section, which is a very small section of the prison, actually.
You remember roughly, figure-wise?
Males, there can be up to 500-600 males. Females,
Is it in the same building?
20, 30. They're next door to each other. The females are separate, in a sort of separate
never mix
block.
at all, ever?
No,
They
they
can't
don't.
see each
They
other,
don't.
nothing. You
Of
were the
course, there
only
were.
one, or the only single person?
For the females, yes, but I mean, there were only ever no more than 20 to 30. As time passed, they ran into problems with a general doctor for the whole population, which is a big one to take on. And we used to take it in turn to go. With a population of 400 or 500, you know, there were always a queue of patients,
What were
clients
the most common things that they'd be queuing up for? Like when you think of prison, you think addiction, fights?
Cold, a sore throat, this, that, possibly a fight, so they have some minor wounds. We referred people to hospital, obviously, occasionally, because I mean, you know, when
That's
things...
that procedure, we're referring to hospital, that sounds, so you have to send prison guards? Or
Yes, of course, they
send
always go.
Guards, prison guards and police, or just prison guards?
Yes.
And when they get to hospital, they're mixed with general population, like general...
Yes, but there usually be 2 guards with them. Most of the time they're handcuffed as well. I mean, it's difficult not to notice them, you know, when they're there with handcuffs with these 2 big burly guys next to them.
Were you ever scared, being especially a female within like the...
I actually was, yes. I remember one particular incident. There's usually one guard with you, and he'll be walking in and out when they come in. And I remember on this occasion, 3 or 4 prison guards walked into the room. It was very unusual, but you know, you're busy. I was seeing a patient, got up, walked out, and another 2 walked in with another patient. Afterwards, I got to know he was a murderer. I mean, he was in there for murder, and it was, I think, the only time where I was really afraid. First, the fact that there were so many guards in there, but even actually looking at this person, his face, his eyes, devoid of expression, like black holes. And even his presence, it was menacing. I saw him, got him out, and I told them, what on earth, who the hell was this? I didn't know who he was, I mean...
You ever got I was going to ask, like, you ever get a history of these people?
Oh, it didn't make a difference, really. It didn't make a difference, but that occasion was very particular, because, I mean, never have 4 prison guards come into the same room, you know, and stayed there with me. I actually did feel afraid. Petrified me. I had quite a few drug addicts who tried to push their luck, you know, and they sort of make threatening noises and what's it. But I mean, you deal with it. But this time, I remember, was...
What was the worst thing that you saw working in the prison system? Like, what was, in your opinion, something that stuck with you till today, and you remember when you think of prison time, someone asked that question?
The general thing, eh? I mean, I've known addicts who'd do something minor to actually go to prison again.
Roof over their head, it's a meal and their belly.
When you think about it, you say they've sunk so low where they consider prison to be better. It's a sad thing.
It's very sad. It sounds like a failed system, to be honest.
Well, inside the prison,
you'd have to go through the prison security system.
Of course, yes,
That check your bag, like going through airport security or half tighter. Your
ID, your bag, of course.
And then you'd only go to just the clinic. You never visited a cell or a wing or a...
On occasion, I think I have, when, say, somebody is really unwell, you know, and those were probably the cases where we refer to hospital.
Did you ever form like a friendship with any of the people inside?
You know, the prison guards you get to know. Obviously, most of them are very nice.
But the actual prisoners themselves, you never got to know any of them on a personal level, or...?
Not really.
Was there anyone who you learned the story of and you're like, this person doesn't deserve to be here?
Yes, I mean, there are quite a few, as I said, quite a few were drug addicts that I knew, and I knew their history, and I knew their family history, and I knew the circumstances.
Malta's a very small island, very small place. Did you ever bump into anyone in prison that you knew outside of prison from, like...
Yes.
What was that like, bumping into them inside of prison?
I think it was more embarrassment from my end. It was actually a relative.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you know they were in prison?
Not really. I think I got to know, obviously, because they come and tell me, listen, sort of this person is coming, and I sort of went, what? It's awkward, eh? Because I mean, you try and help, and you see him there, and you go like, what on earth
Did you
happened?
ask how they ended up in there, or did you just say like, I want to treat you and get on with it?
Well, I did. I mean, since it was somebody I knew. You go into the history a bit.
Must have been not a nice situation to be in.
But as you say, I mean, we're a small island. I mean, even in hospital, you see people, you know, and you don't know they're there, you know what I mean, and you bump into them or
Prison's something a bit more like...
Yes, it's a more extreme, exactly.
But prison doctor, but you took care of the detox department there.
Yes, that was my day job.
When somebody comes in with an addiction, do you see what they were addicted to and then try and treat them by giving them like a drug that's controlled to bring that addiction down? Or?
Yes. Sounds simple, but it is far from simple.
Does it require their willingness to get off of it?
Most definitely. A number of times we've sent one person for a rehabilitation program. He does some time and he just leaves. Unless they really reach rock bottom and want to change, it's not going to work.
Here's a question you can answer if you want to, you don't have to if you don't want. Did you ever see anybody OD on an illegal substance inside of prison whilst being kept in a security hall?
I mean, I remember one incident where, yes, we found one of the inmates dead in the toilet. I mean, that
inside
was...
of prison.
Do you know what substance it was?
A heroin overdose. When they reach us, they're going towards the end, they can sort of go out for the day or go out for a few hours.
So they were allowed to leave?
Yes, as they're doing well and, you know, weeks pass. I mean, the idea is that you rehabilitate them. The thing is, if you relapse and you've been off drugs for quite some time, I mean, even the smallest dose can be lethal, basically.
What was the most common substance when like, someone mentions addiction? What was the most common substance that you'd be like, that you see coming in the system?
Well, I mean, at the time, this is talking about 20, 25 years ago, heroin was the... Nowadays, it's more cocaine and crack cocaine and these synthetic pills.
Are they harder to treat?
Much. For heroin, we had methadone. I mean, cocaine and crack, there isn't really something to substitute for.
If someone's been on cocaine or crack cocaine for a long period of time, the withdrawal symptoms are real. The body isn't, it's not the placebo effect, it's a very real thing. The body is dependent on that.
Oh yes, even heroin. I mean, you can see it. If they go cold turkey, you can see the effect.
Is it dangerous for the body, for instance, to...
It can be, yes.
Can you die, or is it just it's very uncomfortable? Can you die from withdrawal symptoms?
Extremely uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not saying you can't die for it, because yeah, if it's very extreme, you possibly can. We never used to let anybody do cold turkey, you know, that's why you substitute with something else, and then you start lowering the dose slowly, slowly.
Methadone would give them the same feeling that they were on when they were on heroin, or is it just to stop the side effects?
It stops the side effects, it doesn't give you the same high
so
or the same,
from it,
no.
If you had to try and reach back to the worst case of someone came with addiction.
I have known people started taking drugs at a fairly young age, and I mean, they were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they still hadn't gotten off them. Yes, basically. There was a particular person whose daughter got addicted to drugs, and I remember she had died of an overdose.
The daughter had died of an overdose?
Yes.
Okay.
And eventually, her father, years later, had also died of an overdose. Seeing young couples who are together and they, you know, want to move forward, and they keep relapsing and relapsing. And I've known people who have gone to rehab twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and then on the 6th time, hey, you know, they've made it. They're clean. Yes, we had alcoholics as well.
How do you treat an alcoholic at rehab?
There are certain drugs that they can give. For example, there's one drug that if you're taking it and you drink, you feel violently ill.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, it's like a shock.
Like when you paint your nails with nail polish.
Yeah, and you try.
Yes.
This is a free program when someone, especially voluntarily, wishes to go to a rehab.
Yes, it is.
There are any private rehabs on the island?
On the island, no, I don't believe so.
Do you still have friends that work in this industry now?
Yes, I do.
Do you think there's a big change from when you were working there to now? Has it gotten much worse, much better?
Unfortunately, it is getting worse. I mean, the drugs they take are, well, slightly different.
You've seen that the age has dropped
as well, and now all these synthetic drugs sort of ban the import or what's it of one, and manufacturers they manufacture something within a few months. So it's a constant battle.
How do you find it within yourself, kind of, to keep it going? How does it become still a worthy cause? If you see especially the same people relapsing, or the same people kind of...
Sometimes it's hard. I mean, you know, you're trying to help, just sort of say, no, this person is, you know, forget it, it's been here twice, 3 times, 4 times. Because they have a lot of success stories, you know, where people have turned their life around.
What is the best success story you've heard of somebody that you treated in rehab and now, a few years later, whatever you heard and you said, damn, they're doing really well?
We had a few success stories of drug addicts who later sort of qualified and became staff to help us in the rehabilitation services, which is amazing. I mean, I'm a doctor, I can sit at the other end of the desk and tell you this and that, but when somebody who has gone through it and lived through it, and had relapse after relapse, when they get down and speak to them, it's amazing the effect it has.
You were also an emergency room doctor for a little bit, correct?
Yes.
What was the weirdest patient you had in terms of weird things in their body, weird things that they've done?
Yes, of course. We as a human race
sit down here,
are always experimenting and doing stuff. Gear levers. I was moving in my car and I fell on the gear lever, you know, stuck up your rectum, or bottles, glass bulbs, even females, vegetables, something of glass or something, and it breaks inside them.
So, 1.
Ooh, I like.
Be this bright.
I think I told you I've been, you know, dreaming of maybe finding a pink. This is amazing.
Well, it's 3 different things.
Yeah.
So, have you had lunch yet? Can we get you something?
No, I'm fine.
No, let's get some food. I'm hungry, so we normally get
order.
people food at this time. If you were given the option to start over again and choose another career, what would you go into?
Well, I've always liked dance and theatre. I might just go down that path. I find it really interesting. In fact, in my spare time, it's what I do. I like to help in theatre.
Okay.
How fun. Do you consider retiring this and then going into...
Most definitely, yes. And looking forward to it, in fact, as well.
Ready for that big reveal?
I think we might just shock you.
So if I faint, you pick me up.
No, it's okay. If
No,
you
that's
faint,
good.
we'll ask you what to do as you're fainting. Doctor, what do we do?
3, 2, 1.
Oh my God. Wow! You made me look amazing!
Time to call the hubby and let him know it's a time for a night out.
Wow! You made me look gorgeous. Thank you, thank you. It's really cool, I really like it.
Jackie, it was an absolute pleasure learning about you, meeting you, getting to know a bit more about your world, your career, the
Thank
kind
you.
of hardships.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very, very
It
much.
was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been really
Thank
fun.
you too.
Goodbye. I'll see you next week, same time.
Can I make it clean when I sit like this?
Hi, you want to be involved as well?
If this falls now, it will make for great content.
I'd rather it didn't fall, because my beautiful awards behind it.